The words land like a blade wrapped in velvet. I can shut this down with one call. Madison Keane, 23 years old, says it so calmly it sounds less like a threat and more like an inevitability. She leans in just slightly, posture confident, lips lifted in a smug crescent, her gaze locked on the judge's bench without a flicker of hesitation. Judge Frank Caprio removes his glasses with deliberate slowness, places his pen beside the docket, and studies her. "Miss Keane," he says quietly, "remarks like that don't age well on a public record. Do you understand the charges before you?" Madison tilts her head. "I understand this whole situation is blown out of proportion." "That," Caprio replies, "is not an answer." Her attorney, Paul DeMarco, rises with the overly practiced politeness of a man who has done this speech too many times. "Your Honor, this is a standard traffic issue. My client is willing to pay whatever fines apply and resolve the matter today." Caprio doesn't even glance at him. "Mr. DeMarco," he says, voice calm but cutting, "sit down. This isn't a cash register." The subtle reprimand sucks the air out of the room. DeMarco lowers himself into his chair. Madison's confidence flickers for the first time. "Officer Russo," Caprio says, "confirm we're ready with the body cam audio." "Yes, Your Honor." "Good. Because what happens next isn't about fines, it's about respect." He turns to the camera crew. "Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from and subscribe to Case Closed, where arrogance gets confronted and accountability gets televised." The clerk steps forward and reads, "Docket 24 to 29,847, Commonwealth versus Madison Elizabeth Keane. Charges include speeding in an active construction zone, ignoring a lawful order, stopping in a restricted work area, and attempting to influence an officer by invoking a public official." The citation was issued by Trooper Carla Mendes, Rhode Island State Police, Friday morning at 9:51 a.m. Caprio looks up. "Miss Keane, did you receive a copy of this ticket at the scene?" "Yes." "And did you read it?" "I skimmed it." "That isn't the same as reading it." He pivots toward DeMarco. "Counselor, is your client ready to address these charges in full?" DeMarco stands again, but the confidence is gone. "Your Honor, we believe paying the fines is the appropriate solution." "My client has no record." Caprio raises a hand. "I did not ask about her checkbook. I asked about the facts." "Please sit." He flips another page. "There's a notation here. 10 months ago, Campus Safety issued an administrative warning. Miss Keane parked in an emergency lane during a university event and refused to move." Madison shrugs. "It was raining. I was dropping someone off. Campus security made a big deal over nothing." Caprio reads from the report. "It says you told the officer, 'Call whoever you want.' It also states you didn't move your car for 27 minutes. An ambulance was delayed while trying to reach the health center." He closes the file. "This isn't punishment for today, it's context." DeMarco tries again. "Your Honor, Miss Keane acknowledges she could have handled the situation better." "Counselor," Caprio says, "paying a fine only teaches someone how to swipe a debit card." "I want the truth." "Miss Keane, explain Friday morning." Madison sighs loudly, like she's being forced to recount an unfair inconvenience. "I was driving to work on the I-195 ramp. Construction everywhere. Cones, signs, crawling traffic. I saw space, moved into it, and some guy in a vest waved his arms. I stopped eventually. Then a trooper shows up and turns it into a production." "You were clocked at 62 miles an hour, Caprio says. "The limit was 35. The workers were just standing around. No one was in danger." Caprio's voice drops to a disappointed softness. "Construction zones aren't abstract, they're people." He lifts a log. "This document states that a flagger had to step backward to avoid your car." Madison waves a hand. "I didn't see that." DeMarco stands. "Your Honor, we're importing subjective interpretations." "A worker stepping back to avoid being hit is not subjective," Caprio says. "That is documented evasive action." He nods toward the side wall. "Trooper Mendes, please read your narrative." Trooper Carla Mendes approaches, voice even. At 9:48 a.m., I was assigned to dot traffic control. At 9:49, I observed a silver sedan, later identified as Miss Keane, enter the coned lane at high speed. A flagger signaled her to stop. She continued approximately 50 feet into the zone, blocking an equipment staging area. Upon making contact, she stated, "My mom is the governor. Do you know who my mother is?" Later, while I wrote the citation, she said, "I can end this with one phone call to the State House." Caprio looks at Madison. "Trooper, did you take that as intimidation?" "Yes, Your Honor." Madison rolls her eyes. "It was sarcasm." "Let's hear the audio," Caprio says. A hiss, then Madison's voice crisp. "I can end this with one phone call to the State House." Silence follows, thick and uncomfortable. "Miss Keane," Caprio says, "your mother is Governor Eleanor Keane of Rhode Island, correct?" "Yes." "When you made that statement, what did you intend?" "It was sarcasm." "Trooper, I perceived a threat." "Understandable," Caprio says. "Sarcasm doesn't protect road crews." He turns to his clerk. "Any outside contact about this case?" The clerk consults a log. "Yes, Your Honor. 2 calls and 1 voicemail from a number belonging to the governor's office." The timestamps align, within minutes of the traffic stop. "Play the voicemail," Caprio says. A composed female voice. "This is Janora from the office of the governor regarding case 24-9847. Please contact us to discuss resolving this matter privately." DeMarco leaps up. "Your Honor, my client cannot control who calls on her behalf." "Sit down," Caprio says. "This is relevant." He lays out the timeline. 9:51, traffic stop 10:14, first call from the governor's office 23 minutes, he murmurs. Someone moved quickly. He asks for Victor Alvarez, field supervisor, by phone. Alvarez's voice fills the courtroom. "Your Honor, we had a lane closure that morning. When Miss Keane's vehicle entered at high speed, my flaggers had to pull back. Everything halted. One wrong move and a worker doesn't go home." Madison mutters, "They were barely working." Caprio hears it. "Miss Keane, speak up." "I said they were hardly doing anything." "They were doing their jobs," Caprio replies. "Work zones are not theater." Then comes the text message. At 10:30 a.m., Madison texted, "Got pulled over law. Mom's office will call them, don't freak." She winces as it's read aloud. "That was private." "It became evidence," Caprio replies, "and it shows expectation, not frustration." The hearing moves relentlessly. Caprio asks, "Were you in the work zone?" "Yes." "Did you ignore the flagger's signal?" "I stopped eventually." "That isn't no." "Did you stop in a restricted area?" "Yes." "Did you invoke your mother's office?" A long pause. "Yes." "There it is," Caprio says. Madison snaps, "People speed there every day and don't end up here." "Perhaps," Caprio replies, "but most people don't follow it by contacting the governor's office." DeMarco tries one last request to move the hearing off the record. Caprio shakes his head. "Sunlight is part of due process. We stay public." He delivers the findings, all 4 charges supported: body cam, work zone logs, traffic timestamps, her own text. Caprio announces the fines. $980 total. Then, "I am staying $450 of that if you complete a restorative accountability plan." The plan is detailed. Personal apologies to Alvarez and Mendes, 50 hours with the Work Zone Safety Program, 3 school assemblies. A 60-second PSA called "Work Zones Are Lives, a Driverist Course." A 750-word reflection on public power versus public safety, mercy, Caprio says, is a contract, not a discount. He recommends new statewide protocols. Influence logs, pressure hotlines, automatic work zone tow priority, mandatory cosigns on politically pressured cases. Then the courtroom door opens. Governor Eleanor Keane enters. "Your Honor, I'd like to discuss my daughter's case privately." Caprio doesn't blink. "Governor, this is an open hearing. You may observe, not intervene." She insists. He refuses. Madison finally whispers, "Mom, stop. This is mine." And the governor steps back. 6 weeks changed more than Madison expected. On her first day with the work zone safety program, she stood in an orange vest that felt too big for her and boots that felt too heavy. The crew members didn't look at her with hostility but with something worse, indifference. To them, she wasn't special. She wasn't the governor's daughter. She was the girl who nearly hit one of their own. The first morning, she shadowed a veteran flagger named Lewis, a man with weathered hands and a calm voice. He didn't lecture her. He simply said, "Cars forget we exist until one of us doesn't make it home." That line stayed with her. By the second week, she began to see what she had never understood in a passing car: the constant mental game the workers played. Watching traffic, reading driver behavior, predicting danger in split seconds. She realized how quickly a careless moment, her careless moment, could shatter someone's life. At schools, her presentations were awkward at first. Teenagers stared at her like she was a cautionary tale. So she stopped trying to be polished and started being honest. She told them what she almost caused, how one arrogant sentence nearly changed everything. And they listened. Her PSA shoot was unexpectedly emotional. She was told to say one line on camera: "Slow down. Someone out here loves someone waiting at home." Her voice broke on the first take. When she apologized to Supervisor Alvarez, he didn't accept the first attempt. It sounded rehearsed. On the second try, she spoke from the gut. "I didn't see you as people that day. Now I do." That time, he nodded. She attended every work shift, every meeting, every assignment. She completed the driverless course. She wrote the 750-word reflection. But more importantly, she grew quieter, more grounded, more aware. By the end of 6 weeks, even the DOT crew joked with her. She wasn't the governor's daughter. She was Madison, the one who came back every day, even on rainy mornings, even when nobody expected her to care. On the morning of her follow-up hearing, she arrived early, carrying a folder of completed tasks. For once, she didn't bring her attorney. She didn't want a shield. She walked in alone and entirely changed. 3 months after 3 months later, the ripple effect of her case reached farther than anyone expected. The Influence Log Initiative, a transparency requirement Judge Caprio recommended, became statewide policy. Every call from any political office about any open legal matter was automatically recorded and published weekly. No exceptions, no back doors, no quiet favors. It didn't take long for people to notice the shift. Crews reported that drivers were slowing down in work zones more consistently. The Work Zone Obstruction Protocol, another recommendation, meant that unsafe vehicles were now towed instantly, without waiting for additional authorization. Lives were being protected, not negotiated. Madison's 1-minute PSA, filmed with plain lighting and no makeup team, started showing up in drivers' ED classes, on local news, and in DMV waiting rooms. Her voice, steady but softer than before, carried a message people didn't expect from someone with her background. Work zones aren't obstacles, they're families. Teachers emailed DOT, saying students actually discussed the video afterward. One parent wrote, "My daughter asked me if road workers get scared. I never thought about it before." For the first time in her life, Madison realized she had helped create something bigger than herself. A few DOT workers even began calling her Kid Keane, a nickname that, to her surprise, felt like honor, not mockery. The governor, her mother, had stopped trying to intervene months ago. Their relationship, once strained by unspoken pressure and political expectations, grew unfamiliar but healthier. Madison talked. Her mother listened, something new for both of them. Every few weeks, Madison visited the same crew she had worked with. She didn't have to. She wanted to. One afternoon, as she dropped off iced coffees for the team, Supervisor Alvarez said, "Remember the kid who asked if his dad is safe? He saw your PSA, he was proud." Madison didn't know what to say. She just smiled, blinking away the sting of tears. She had become something she never expected, a cautionary tale and a catalyst for change. Final scene: night settles over the courthouse like a folded velvet curtain. Judge Caprio stands alone in his chambers. the hum of the old ceiling fan mixing with the distant echo of a closing door down the hallway. The day's files are stacked neatly on his desk, but one thin folder remains open, Madison's. He reads the final line of her reflection again. Power isn't measured by who you can intimidate, but by who you choose to protect. He closes the folder slowly, as though sealing a chapter, not just of her life, but of his own tenure on the bench. Caprio walks to the corkboard on the wall, a patchwork of old memos, thank you notes, and handwritten quotes. He takes an index card, writes with patient strokes, and pins it at eye level. Authority fades. Character endures. He steps back, admiring the simplicity of it. The room is quiet, the kind of quiet that comes after resolution, not emptiness. Outside, a streetlight flickers once before holding steady, its glow stretching through the blinds across his desk. Caprio switches off the lamp. The room falls into soft shadow, the pinned message still visible in the faint amber light. He pauses in the doorway, looks once more at the card, and gives a small, satisfied nod. The kind a man makes when he knows something genuinely good came from something nearly disastrous. Then he locks the door behind him. Justice for the night is at rest.